My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Well, Jesus, at this time of the year, we really can't get enough of asking for more blessings and for more graces to come. This is day 2 of the new year. And maybe for some of us, this is the day when we need to revisit our resolutions that we have made. After the hype of New Year's Day, maybe we're already beginning to slacken off. Jesus, help us to realize what's realistic as well. That we want to start this new year on the right foot. We want to start this new year with your blessing. We want to start this new year with you. So help us realize what we can and cannot do. That we can make resolutions that are useful to us, useful to our faith, and help us get the right balance. Put you at the center of our lives, that you'll be at the center this whole year. And maybe if we've already slacked off a little bit, maybe if we've fallen down on some of those big resolutions, maybe they weren't right for us anyway. Whatever it is, Jesus, give us more blessings on day 2 to keep us going, to see us through, that our plans will be your plans. This time of the year, whenever people are thinking about the new year, making resolutions, maybe it's also a time whenever we are questioning a little bit of our identity, trying to see who we are. Who am I at the start of this new year? What's my role? What's my purpose? Am I satisfied with the efforts that I'm putting in my faith, or in my family life, or my work? Maybe I can do a little bit more. This whole question of my identity, who I am before you, Lord, who I am in the midst of your church, who I am in the midst of the world, is also a question that is coming to us from the gospel today. So it's as good for us to meditate a little bit upon this now. We have John the Baptist now as a great witness to help us. He is the one who, from his mother's womb, is preparing the way first with joy, to hear the words of Mary spoken to his mother, that he rejoiced. He rejoiced in the presence of Mary and the presence of you, Jesus, even in the womb. And so as John goes ahead to witness for us for this whole year, may he bring us something of his joy as well. And we read in the Gospel, right at the beginning of the Gospel of John, about all these people coming out from Jerusalem to see him and to hear him. Now, he's far from Jerusalem. He's in the wilderness. He's at the River Jordan. They're baptizing, proclaiming a message of repentance, helping people to prepare for the coming of the Messiah. So this has a little bit of an echo for us from Advent, a month ago when we were preparing for the coming of the Messiah. And now we have celebrated the coming of the Messiah at Christmas, to see you as the little baby born for us in the little stable of Bethlehem. You're still there, maybe in lots of our crib scenes. We haven't tidied them away yet. We still have this little focus. And we're thinking also in these days of the wise men making their journey towards Bethlehem, bringing their gifts. So John is helping us even to prepare for the Epiphany and for the gifts that we will bring you. But what is it that you want to show us in this gospel today, Lord? The question that these people coming out to see John ask, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Because he's doing something different. And he marked himself out as being different because of this message of repentance, because he's in the wilderness, because what he has to say is different from what the priests are saying in the temple. And so today we have the priests and the Levites coming out to ask him, who are you? They've heard a lot about him. They've been challenged by him. They certainly don't like him. And he denies flatly that he is the Christ. It's a little bit strange. Who are you? And he starts by saying who he is not. But everything about John points to you, Jesus. So right from the start, he wants to make this very clear. It's not about me. My purpose, my role is about Jesus. So there's a little thought for us. If we're thinking about our identity, who we are, the kind of people we want to be in 2025, how much do we point towards the Lord? What about me has to reduce in order that I can be more about Jesus? What about me is about Jesus? Maybe that's a better way of putting it. And how do people receive the witness that I want to give? So John, again, has this pretty clear example of proclaiming the one who is to come. I am not the Christ. I am not Elijah. I am the one whom Isaiah has prophesied, a voice that cries in the wilderness, make a straight way for the Lord. Now I like this a lot. This image of the one in the wilderness crying out that people will make straight the paths for him. And just exactly in the way that I've read that, and if you look at the gospel text, you will see it presented that way, grammatically. Sorry to bore you for a second. A voice that cries out in the wilderness, make a straight way for the Lord. So at least for us, it's a little bit clear that that's John. He's the one in the wilderness, and he's asking us, preparing us, and exclaiming this message to make a straight way for the Lord. So maybe there are people on the peripheries who are in the wilderness who are drawing us out in order that we can hear something new. Maybe the Lord is asking that of each one of us. Maybe specifically that we will leave our ways behind, that we will maybe go into a wilderness, and there we will be the one proclaiming this new message. It sounds a bit extreme, but genuinely the Lord does call us to make changes in our life at times, to be the one in the wilderness crying out. Maybe we just have to listen to those voices that are coming from the wilderness. And so, at least in the way in which we hear it in the Gospel, written in the Gospel of John, this is the prophecy of Isaiah. And it fits the bill for John. He is the one whom Isaiah has spoken about because he's in the wilderness. Make a straight way for the Lord. And again, we've kind of done that as best we could during the Advent season. And now we have to remember that it's not just a season. We have to constantly make a straight way for the Lord. But there's another way of reading this that I like a lot. And if we go to the text of Isaiah, you see it presented slightly differently. So listen to how I read it. Maybe you'll not hear it straight away. But there's a difference between what we read in the Gospel, a voice that cries out in the wilderness, make a straight way for the Lord, to this, a voice that cries out, in the wilderness, make a straight way for the Lord. So in the prophet Isaiah, that's exactly how we read it. A voice cries out, in the wilderness, make a straight way for the Lord. So the place that we have to make the straight way is, in fact, the wilderness. So rather than going out into the wilderness and there listening to these voices, we have to make a straight way for the Lord in the wilderness, in the desert, so to speak. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind, at least whenever I think of that, is that's a challenge. Making a straight way in the wilderness is not easy. Think of the sand. How are you going to make a straight path whenever the sand kind of has a mind of its own? You have to be very resolute. You have to be very disciplined. You have to have a clear intention in mind that I want to get from this place to that and make a straight way in the sand, in the wilderness. I think that's what you're inviting us to do, Lord, too. That we should be disciplined about the plans that we're making. And the path that you make is at times challenging. There is also a little bit of a wilderness often in each one of us, in our hearts, in our minds. Maybe in our faith there's a little bit of a wilderness, there's a little bit of a desert. There's a place that is dry. That's the place where John the Baptist and the prophet Isaiah are encouraging us to make a straight path for the Lord. In other words, where there are little twists and turns, places that are arid, places that have not been watered by faith or good doctrine or prayer, that's the place where the Lord is inviting us to make straight. Not so much so that we can get to him, but that he can get to us. A path is two ways, don't forget. Make a straight way for the Lord. Maybe I usually think about that as I have to make this path in order that I can get to you, Jesus. But maybe I need to make the path so that you can come to me in a more convenient way, in a straighter way, to take out all of the twists and turns, to take out all of the bumps, in order that you can get closer to my heart. Jesus, let's listen to the voice of John the Baptist today. Let's figure out where the wilderness is. Figure out who I am as well. And know that everything that I say and do, especially in this year, will be about you. And that you can come quicker. You can come with more grace, with more power into my heart, into my life. I give you thanks, my God, for the good resolutions, affections and inspirations that you have communicated to me during this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.